Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
It's been a while.
Yes, it's been.
Why you've been in the trenches or just decided to?
I have been both in the trenches in my constituency, and I have been actively in the university doing what I do for daily bread.
Will you be contesting the primaries?
Yes, I am contesting, and let me just use your opportunity now to say hi to all the members of Team Kpessa Whyte across Charles Udoku and the loyal ladies who are working very hard to make sure I become the candidates for the party going into 2024.
Okay. The constituency is Charles Udoku?
Yes, Charles Udoku.
Former chair for the PNC is Bernard Bona. He's here. Good morning to you.
Morning.
It's not too early for you to be wearing the Che Guevara beret.
On the contrary, I think
We just returned from Easter.
It's too early for you to be putting on a tie like a tethered goat. It's too early for that. In the country where the weather is hot and where opportunities are scarce, wearing ties and suits in the morning should not be acceptable.
The order of the day.
But that is your code, and I cannot grudge you. So I don't see why you should be grudging me for putting on my favorite beret.
I'll ask a question.
But I wish Kpessa Whyte well in his constituency. It's a tough battle, usually to defeat an incumbent. But I really think that our politics must be reordered in a manner that will allow a certain level of competence to occupy some of these echelons. And I just pray that the constituents will find need for you to go and represent them. Let me, before you even ask me, to express my disgust about some happenings that took place in the Upper West region, where a number of people were killed in bizarre circumstances. And it did not augur well for me. I felt very broken because some very close relatives of mine also suffered this kind of attacks over, what do they call it? They need to take control of natural resources, minerals and what have you. And I think that we as a society can avoid some of these needless and unmerited deaths. To see young people go and die when dialogue could have been the answer to some of these situations doesn't sit well at all. We are one people, and it is important that we should not allow violence of the extreme nature to engulf us. The perpetrators of what happened in the Upper West region a week ago must be fished out and dealt with. I also think that we should explore positive ways to dialogue out of these kind of confusions that we have. But of course, as I keep saying, unemployment in rural communities will result to such violence, and unemployment in urban communities will lead to other ways of resolving them. And when you see that majority of our young people are not employed, some few persons well-to-do will take advantage of them and employ their services, and at the end of the day, we see these calamitous deaths, and I am totally broken by what transpired in the Upper West region. I want to send my strongest message of condolences to the bereaved family, and then we can ensure that they get the appropriate burials and then funerals.
All right. Kofi Tonto is also communicating for the MPP as well, and then government of Nana Addo Dankwa. Kofi Tonto, how was your Easter?
Oh, excellent. Let me say a very good morning to you. I was
of course, he's in power, so Easter will be excellent, right?
Oh. Too early for you to be that. I asked you same to her. You said you spent in constituency, so please
I was even going to...
I just want to remind Ghanaians that he's in power, so his Easter was excellent.
I was only going to remind my senior brother, who's a professor, that the NDC held a Banku eating contest during this Easter. The video is abound on the internet.
Which of the constituencies?
I can't remember the constituency.
So you shouldn't have said it in the first place.
But you should see the video. You know, it tells you
even in the size of the Banku.
Yes, it tells you that
everything is well.
Even in opposition, they are doing very, very well and enjoying.
You consider Banku a luxury, right?
No, I mean, it's not the fact that it's Banku. It's the way they've done it.
The garnishing.
And the garnishing and the enjoyment. It was I think it's a food eating contest or something.
Is he your wish that we die in opposition?
And then you should see President Mahama and his convoy. Over 20 V8s in the convoy. So it
during his tour?
Yeah, during his tour.
Okay.
So it tells you that even in opposition, the NDC and Kpessa Whyte are doing excellently well. I mean, look at him. Very well dressed, very well groomed, handsome gentleman this morning. You know, for someone who's in opposition and claims to be suffering, it's quite interesting. But I wish him all the best at Shayo Sudoku.
Yes.
I think that's the one on the stretch to, is it Sugakope or something like that?
Oh,
That's
the other one.
you are talking
The one
about.
is on the Dodua.
Dodua, okay.
So the thing about that constituency, Roland, if you allow me, is that many people tend to think of it only in terms of Dodua, but it stretches from Dodua all the way to the north tongue boundaries around Tokpo.
Okay.
And it's probably one of the largest constituencies in Greater Accra.
Okay.
Bounded by several other constituencies. I think about 7 different constituencies.
Wow. Then it's big.
Yes. So while I'm speaking, should I just...
No.
Oh, this is
I
I just gave you a few minutes to.
Okay, all right. Okay, go ahead.
And
you were talking about why I should be elected, so go ahead.
And then he also spoke about loyal ladies. Is that a group or something?
Yes,
Oh,
that,
you mean,
that is a group of ladies within our constituency and our branch executives who firmly and strongly believe that I need to become the candidate.
So are you saying they are loyal to you, or that's the name of the group?
That is the name of the group.
Okay, then you may want to find a different name. Because as you know, Roland, the biggest volunteer group in Ghana with over 40,000 membership is MPP Loyal Ladies.
And you have monopoly over the word.
And so for you to copy Loyal Ladies,
You
is
have
quite
monopoly over the word.
It's not about monopoly. We are speaking about a political space. There is already a group that exists with the name Loyal Ladies.
We haven't found one as such.
Oh, how? Then you are not in the political space.
We haven't found one
It
as
is
such.
the most powerful female youthful brand in the Republic.
Indeed.
So I'm very surprised you haven't heard about it.
All right.
Well, I'm
But
saying
in
that we
any
haven't
case-
found one.
We haven't even started. Okay. So we're here to look at a bigger conversation that came up, and it's dominated discussions. And while we're trying to have Easter, it's about former national security. Mr. Brian Nichampo, what was his position?
Minister of Fabric.
What do you mean? What's his position?
What
or
was his position
National
before he became
Minister
Agri
of
Minister?
State at the National
Okay,
Security.
so Minister of State at the National Security, now Minister of Food and Agriculture, and his comments during a health walk that ultimately resulted in a sort of a rally of a sort in his constituency, and ultimately generating a lot of debate. There's been criticism not only from the opposition NDC, but also some members of civil society, some security experts as well. But what did he say? This is what he said.
The party no ya buying to renchem kakra betu ya okwan mu Ukraine, Russia, war, COVID. Am I entutu ya ya den ekọ fam. Am I opposition ehun ni sa ntino. Am I mo den ya den ekọ soro. Man saying esan say ya possible ntino. Biden shishaye egukwan mu dollar every 17 about 10. Petrol every 17 about 9. And never in a confirm economy no pejale holo. It is possible. It is possible. It is possible. Yeah, made this super chat. And I your my say time na near my work from no. Sa time no e beto aba. I mean, check on my ball. Chasing region ball. Every June, July this year. I am a 4 about the soya sini. Yeah, to ye akoye am economy na peja. Yeah, to ye akoye am dollar na peja. Yeah, to ye akoye am efumu. Yeah, me. Yeah, to ye akoye am abaino channel na so. NDC ebegu. Na say what do you imagine say? What did the patapa? Any
his comments have been construed to mean that by all means and measure, the government of Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, when the election is held, no matter who wins, will not transfer power to any other government except the government of the MPP. You've heard the brouhaha, Kofi. What do you make of this?
Your summation is not what he said. He never said anything about not transferring power. What he was referring to, in fact, if you listen to the audio very well, or the video, he says the tone. He says the basis for which he said what he said. He said that Ghana finds itself at the crossroads. We find ourselves in an economic challenge, which essentially made the NDC find relevance in our political discourse. And that they are now, quote unquote, powerful. But if we are able to fix the economy, if we are able to get things up and running, if we are able to get the support we need from the IMF, and we are able to set Ghana on the right path, we will win the election. So the premise was set that we are not going to let the power go on the basis that we are going to fix the very challenges that are confronting the economy. Because that is the reason why Ghanaians voted for us. So if we are able to do that, then we are not going to have, there's not going to be the need to hand over power to the NDC in terms of elections, because they are going to vote for the MPP based on our track record, based on the work we do. That's what he was referring to. And then he speaks about, and it was a conditional statement. He said, if NDC for now your margin say, then we will show them that we have the men.
Which is what?
I can cite some of them for you. I have actually taken the time to put some of the commentary on paper. For example, when Esiedun Ketia won the General Secretary election,
you mean the chairmanship?
The chairmanship election, he made a comment. He said the path will not be smooth, but we will stand up to the challenge, and we are prepared to sacrifice everything, and I mean everything, including sacrificing lives. That is some of the Kwasi Asem he was referring to. Because our elections must not get to the point where a party leader will say that we are ready to prepare to sacrifice lives. Whose life? Whose life are you going to sacrifice?
So Brian Champion's comment was your first reaction to comments like that.
I will give you more. There is a gentleman in Swami, Razak Kwampa Avolia, says the NDC cannot win elections against the MPP through a free and fair process, except through violence. So we will visit mayhem on the MPP because it is the only way to win elections. This is NDC youth organizer in Swami. There are so many instances.
Like which instances?
I've given you 2 instances. I can even cite more. Where President Mahama talks about do or die. And when he was asked to retract, he said, I'm not going to retract. President Mahama then further went on to say that we have revolutionary roots. And then when it comes to unleashing violence, nobody can beat us to it. President Mahama. Then
President Mahama has been violent.
No, I didn't say he's been violent. He said the NDC has revolutionary roots, and that when it comes to unleashing violence, nobody can beat the NDC to it. Then their spokesperson for the NDC, there was an issue in Nigeria where we all condemned the issue. He went ahead and said, we are telling them, he was referring to the police officers there, and the people there, the military men, they are making their career in the military coterminous with that of President Akufo-Addo. The day President Akufo-Addo will leave office will be the last day they will serve as policemen and military men. We will deal with them mercilessly.
Who said this?
Sammy Jemfi said this. So they have set the tone.
And so he was referring to the tone they have set and said that if you are going to indulge in this recklessness, then we are not going to stand aloof and allow you to do that. So let's put the argument in proper context. He spoke about the need for us to do the necessary thing by fixing the economy, by getting the economy on track, by getting the necessary support so that we can bring the economy back to life. Then proceeded to say that our brothers on the other side have made it a point that they are going to use violence. And if they do, and I've cited where they've said that they are going to use violence. I've cited more than 5 instances to you. And that if they do, we will show them that we are the men.
Okay.
So I don't see how all of a sudden civil society find their voice. Because
you don't think civil society is right in condemning this?
Because, you see, here's the thing. The very same civil society are the people who supported Oliver Vomawo when he made those cool-mongering comments. The very civil societies. The very civil societies supported Professor Atuguba when he said Ghana is ripe for coup d'etat. So if we want a free and fair platform to conduct our elections on issues based, then we must necessarily condemn all comments leading up to a potential violence. But you don't turn a blind eye when the chairman of a party says we are going to sacrifice lives. Where is the press statement of the civil society organizations when Esiedu Ketia said they are going to sacrifice lives?
Okay, Kofi.
So I'm coming, please, I'm coming. The point I am making is this. The MPP is a serious political party. We believe in a free and fair elections. We believe in issue-based politics. In fact, we have proven so. We've been in an opposition before. And when we were in opposition, what we did was to proffer ideas and solutions. Do you recall when Nanado first said free SHS? It became a national conversation for almost 6 years. To the extent that
we're not talking free SHS. Kofi.
No. I'm not saying.
Kofi,
No. Don't Roland.
No,
don't create,
we are not talking about free SHS.
No.
Please.
Don't create the impression
and
that
it's
I'm
about it's about a comment made by a gentleman.
No.
Who,
don't twist the point.
Who was a
I'm making.
Minister of State for National Security.
Okay, so President Mahama was the first gentleman of the Republic. Did you find issues with his
has been seen in a photo with tags or individuals who were said to be working with national security,
what has that got to do with
for
anything?
which we had a by-election. Individuals were maimed. There was a commission that was set up. And then we had an election where 8 people died, for which still there's not been accountability for whether thorough investigations have been undertaken. So when he's being criticized, it's in context.
Yeah, so President Mahama has also been part of the NDC, dating back to the PNDC days. A political party that mounted coup d'etat in this country, that killed people. That is his track record. So when he says
President Mahama was part of coup d'etat.
Was he not part of the NDC? President Mahama, was he not part of the NDC? Was he not a minister under President Rawlings? He actually said it, that we have revolutionary roots. So if somebody tells you that they have revolutionary roots and that they will unleash mayhem, so I'm also giving you the track record. So if you want to give me the track record of, what's his name, Brian Echamp, I'll give you the track record of President Mahama, which is far worse. The political party is coming from. But the issue of free SHS, which you didn't allow me to finish, I wasn't talking about free SHS. I was talking about the fact that we have presented an opposition before. And the opposition we presented was an issue-based opposition. And when we felt that we've been cheated, we went to court. And we perused through 30,000 pink sheets to make our case that we've been cheated. We did an intellectual discourse in the court of law for the entire country to see. So we have offered an opposition before. That is issue-based opposition, not violence-based opposition. That's the point I'm making. I wasn't talking about free SHS. I was only citing it as one of the many issues that we made it topical in this country, even global. That's the point I was making. So my caution to the NDC, and I've stated it here, that there must be an opposition that is responsible, not an opposition that is bitter, from parliament to the party leadership to the presumptive party leader. All they have done, time and again, is to present themselves as a violent opposition, as a group of people who are bitter. But look, Ghana is not their property. That was bequeathed to them by their father. Ghana belongs to all of us. We must, as a matter of fact, make every effort to convince the Ghanaians through intellectual discourse that this is the reason why we think we can be better managers of the economy, better managers of your resources, better managers
how
of the
are the comments
territorial
of Granny
integrity.
Champon intellectual in the way they were uttered and in discourse?
I've explained it to you.
All right.
That Brian Champon was making a comment, started the comment on the basis of intellectual discussion, and said that if those who are supposed to know better don't do what is right, then we will not sit aloof. That's the point he made. They went to court. President Mahama incited his people. And I like what my brother Miracles always says. He says that the MPP and the NDC members are the most abused people, because all it takes is for their leader to abuse them through lies. President Mahama lied that they won the election and he has the result. Asiedun Ketia went to court and he said he doesn't have the result. Rather, they went there to drink tea and biscuits. And then he was caught on audio saying that the whole time they were lying to the court and to the people of Ghana. They didn't have a shred of evidence. That is the opposition Brian Champon was referring to. An irresponsible opposition that is more bent on unleashing violence. As they have said, that they have revolutionary roots and they will deal with people mercilessly. Those are the people he was referring to. Thank you very much.
So what's that, Whyte? Your reaction to the comment and then also what Kofi is saying.
So thank you very much. And let me use the opportunity to greet all the delegates in my constituency. I believe many of them are watching us this morning, branch executives and constituency executives as well. Let me also use the opportunity to appeal to NADMO to go to the aid of the Ghanaians in the Agoto area of the Shao Sudoku constituency whose homes have been ripped off by some rainstorms. Many of them had their roofs ripped off. And because the constituency, the area is very rural, it appears that this issue has not made it to the news. And so it will be very helpful if NADMO or any of the state institutions moves in quickly to provide them some shelter. Let me correct the impression that President Mahama is traveling in large convoys. I have traveled with President Mahama to some of the events on his campaign trail. What we are calling President Mahama's convoy is not President Mahama's convoy. President Mahama drives in only one vehicle and maybe two others for the security and perhaps some other for the media. Any other vehicle you see in what you are calling his convoy are individuals and well-wishers who probably may be making their way to the same program that he is going and are taking advantage of. I mean, the movement trail of his particular vehicle. So let's make that distinction clear. You know, we have to make this about Brian Champon, and I see no reason why anybody should drag President Mahama into this. And by the way, if we have to speak about which political party in this country had been most violent, both in rhetoric and in action, it is the MPP. The man we call president today, once upon a time, incited his supporters, asking them that or die, be die, and that they should be willing to engage in violence of whatever form just for him to obtain political power. And soon after he obtained political power, we saw the extent to which they unleashed violent vigilantes on innocent Ghanaians across this country. And so if there is any one individual in this country whose personality, both in terms of words and action, evokes the imagery of violence, it is Nana Akufo-Addo. And it is not surprising that his appointees, including Brian Champon, are drawing inspiration from his character to make the kind of reckless comments that are coming from him. For somebody who was a minister in charge of national security, to stand on platform and talk about the MPP will not hand over power and talk about the NDC will collapse, do they believe in democracy at all?
Well, Kofi said it's in reaction.
It's in reaction to what?
To earlier comments.
Earlier comments by what? By
General
who?
Mosquito.
General Mosquito says that
Mahama.
if it is possible, we will sacrifice lives. That is to say that he's rallying the rank and file of our party to a good cause. And let me tell you what, the NDC will not be cowed into intimidation or silence. We will defend the Constitution of Ghana no matter what it takes. And even if it takes violence to defend the Constitution of Ghana, it is our rightful duty. We sat in this country prior to 2016 election, and we saw the MPP brought in foreign mercenaries to come and train all manner of young people in readiness to cause violence had the election not gone their way. We've seen young people made videos of themselves in training camps, speaking to the nation, warning Ghanaians if they don't vote the MPP, there will be violence. And today somebody sits here in the studio and talks about President Mahama's command. We are proud of our revolutionary roots. It is our revolution that produced the democracy that we are enjoying. The democracy on whose wings Nana Akufo-Addo rode to become president was produced out of the revolutionary issues that they are condemning today. So let me say that for somebody who is a member of parliament, the House of Laws, the house that makes laws, for somebody who is a minister of state, to stand on a political platform and make such comments, it's really an assault on our democracy in many ways. And I think it should be condemned by all. And I'm happy that many civil society organizations have condemned it. Look at what happened in Ayawaso during the by-election. And look at how the MPP, including Anado himself, had treated the report of the very committee he had set up to look into the matter. Recommendations of the committee have not been implemented. And there are issues hanging around the very Brian Achampon who is making this comment. So I want to believe that this rush to drag President Mahama into Brian Achampon's comments is completely needless. It's completely unfounded. If anything at all, President Mahama handed over power peacefully when he was declared to have lost the election, even when he was in power. Even when he was in power. And you know what it means to hold power and give power out.
How does that relate to Brian Achampon's?
That is to say that the claim here by Tonto that President Mahama made comments that have violent implications, or Asiedu Nketia made comments that have violent implications, are unfounded. And that the NDC, both in terms of character and in terms of action and in terms of its posturing, have demonstrated that it is the party that is willing, able, ready to defend the Constitution and the democratic principles and tenets of this country. How on earth will a political party desire that another political party dies? How can you claim that the MPP will not hand over power, and so therefore, by retaining itself in power, the NDC will die? Is that the wish of the MPP, to remain in power forever? That there will be no democratic opposition to their misrule in this country? And by the way, when you look at the video, the audio or the video from Brian Achampon, you took the CD from around 3 cedis, or let's say 4 cedis to $1, to 17 cedis. And then it came down to 12 cedis, and you are actually glorying in, what do you call it? You want to make that an achievement? Take it back to where it was before you took power. Then you can talk about an achievement. You don't spoil the situation and then turn around and tell us that, well, we spoiled it, but we've managed it somehow. We've broken the glass, but we've managed to use plaster or sellotape to hold it together. Therefore, we can be seen to be doing better. By whose standards? They should take it back to where it was when it was handed over to them. And I'm surprised that he made these comments on a platform of party activists in the presence of the vice president. What
were you expecting the vice president to do?
I expected him to condemn those words right there and then, because this is a man who is hoping to become a president. And if you are hoping to become president, one expects that you distance yourself from any form of commentary that has the potential to undermine the democratic stability of this country. That did not come from the vice president, which clearly presupposes that he himself, the vice president himself, believes that by any means necessary, they want to retain power through violence. But like I said, the NPP should not delude itself into thinking that they have monopoly over violence. There comes a time, and when that time comes, the NDC will defend the Constitution of Ghana. Defending the Constitution of Ghana also means that defending the democracy of Ghana. And if it takes violence to defend the Constitution of Ghana, so be it.
Mr. Mona, the justifications that have been made and the resultant criticism, what do you make of its impact on the supporters of the NDC, particularly regarding the comments that Brian D. Champon uttered on that party platform?
You will permit me to correct inaccuracies put forward by both the NDC and MPP panelists this morning. It is not a so-called revolutionary track of the NDC that brought democracy to Ghana. It is not.
Isn't that an opinion?
It's not. It is obvious that our democratic processes were truncated as far back as 1966. Ghana was a democracy. We had attained independence. We were moving forward. We had a grand agenda to develop this country. On February 24, 1966, elements of the now Dankwa, Puzi, and Dombo combined their tactics with the CIA agents and succeeded in torpedoing the government of Kwame Nkrumah. So it is obvious when it comes to people who are violent, these same elements were throwing bombs at the same Osaji for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Majority of them are in the New Patriotic Party today. So when it comes to who truncated, who brought back democracy, you cannot say that the NDC or PNDC brought. Indeed, the PNDC toppled a democratically elected government of President Liman. And so when you come and topple a democratically elected government, you are behaving like the MPP, who will come and take $1 from about 3.6, run it to 17, and then come back and say that at 12, we have done well. So you toppled the Liman's regime in 1981. Then you restore the country after nearly 20 years. Or people force you to restore the country after nearly 20 years. Then you come and say that we should glorify you. We should clap hands for you because you truncated a democratic process and you brought it back. It will not be accepted on any platform. Now to come to my brother Kofi Toto.
Why do you always intentionally mispronounce my name? It's Tonto.
Oh, Tonto.
Yes.
Kofi
You can
Tonto.
brothelize it as Tonto.
Kofi.
But the actual Asante pronunciation is Tonto.
Permit
Kofi
me.
Tonto.
I'm sorry. I never intentionally want to caricature your name. I want to pronounce it the way you want it.
Yes.
Tonto.
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 Yeah.
What does that mean?
Only a bit later. You go ahead.
Please go ahead, Mr. Mona.
So for anyone to say that after you have inherited a government peacefully, you will be responding in such harsh manner is a situation where the landlord says that the tenants are sacking him or her from the house. As we sit today, it is not the choice of the MPP to hand over power or not. They don't have that power. And if they determine that they will not hand over power when they actually lose election, then it is a different ball game entirely. And that is where we will see men away from boys. That is where we will see women away from girls. See, as to whether you hand over power or not to hand over power, is the will of the people that determines whether you are fit to continue to be in office or not. Right? When the people vote, and massively determine that you are not the one we want, and you come and say that NC and ne, NC that, ebesi and ne, ebesi that. You see persons with feeble attributes, right? Who wants to go out there and to indicate that they are strong. Look, Brian Achampo, you see, one of the things that I feel sad about is that human beings take ourselves too big and too important, right? This talk you have talked, I don't wish you well, bad, and I don't wish you dead. Why? Jerry Rawlings died. Atta Mills died. Many people have died. So if before the elections you don't live, will you hand over power? Where is this ego and pomposity coming from? Where is that coming from? You are a human being. Anything can happen, right? And you go and sit down and talk. Even God will not make the kind of pronouncements you have made. You know, but it breaks me. It breaks me when I hear very intelligent, lucid persons defending ugly statements. I heard my brother and a friend, Atachia, saying that what Brian Achampo said was just a political talk. Then I asked myself, the definition of political talk is to go out around talking uselessly and anyhow. I thought that political talk should inspire people that there is hope for our nation. Political talk should encourage people out of our misery. Political talk should say that the spoils of the nation will be distributed equitably. Not to go and say that even when, look, and let the point be established, Tonto, that the NDC probably is not boldened by your so-called Russian-Ukraine extraneous factors. After 2026, by 2020, the NDC moved. In numbers, they got 137 MPs in parliament. You got 137 MPs in parliament. What does that tell you? That the NDC was emboldened. Not because of your economic decline, but because the Ghanaians perceived that probably you were not running the economy well. That is why they voted in that number. If you won in 2026 by a huge margin, and all of a sudden there is a decline.
You 2016.
Yeah, 2016. You should be worried why there was a huge decline. Even before these external shocks came to also have an effect on the economy.
How does that relate to the comments of Brian Achampo?
Because Brian Achampo stated that, look, they brought the CD somewhere and that it is Russia, Ukraine that has emboldened the NDC. And I'm just making that reference. You play the tape. And I just want to say that, no, you have not even done a good assessment of the outcome of the 2020 elections. To see that, look, when the NDC, you were leading about 169 MPs in parliament, and all of a sudden you drop to 137, it means there is something wrong. Go and investigate what went wrong. But in effect, I think that I'm happy about the way pronouncements are going. These two political parties are the nemesis of Ghana's democracy and Ghana's development. And the more we tolerate these two political parties, particularly the governing political party that thinks that they have the security apparatuses at their end. I have seen the security turn around and support even the opposition in many countries.
Yeah.
Go to Yahya Jammeh's Gambia. The security that he was relying on, they told him that enough, we cannot. Go to Zambia, the security that was always defending and protecting the government. When the people chose, they told the government that, look, we are a security of the nation. The results have determined we belong to this other side. Even in the NDC, and I listened to John Mahama over the weekend, when he said that, why? He used to get up with people, cars, and what have you surrounding him when elections were declared. Then he got up to come out and realize that there was no car standing there. Nobody came to visit him. The security themselves had moved to go and take place or to take their position within. So it doesn't take Brian Achampo to hand over power or not to hand over power. In fact, he will come begging to hand over power when they lose. And I pray and hope that probably they don't lose to the NDC. They will lose to the PNC. And if that is what he meant, probably we are safe in this country.
Kofi Tonto, the conversation about how the comment of Brian Champong breeds distrust and also creates a certain level of
Distrust amongst who?
a certain level of psyched up concern among party foot soldiers of all the political parties, particularly the MPP and NDC, to become more violent in the run-up to the 2024 election. What do you say to that?
I don't think so. I absolutely don't think so. And I've already stated it, that he premised his argument that Ghana should be, the election should be based on issues, and cited what the issues should be, the economy. So I don't think so. He was only making a cautionary statement on the back that if a group of people decide to engage in A, B, C, D, then we will not sit aloof. And I've gone through the pain to give you examples of what those ifs are. I've given you that. Let me state it here, and unequivocally, that President or Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia, I wrote it here, that Vice President wanted to win power by any means necessary through violence. I don't know if you said it or my senior brother Kpessa Whyte said it.
If you don't know who said it, why do
No,
you
it was said here.
I never mentioned
okay,
it.
So it was Kpessa Whyte who said that. I wrote it here.
I said that by being on the stage and not condemning it.
So my point is, the Vice President has no interest in any form of violence. Absolutely none whatsoever. Let me also state on your station that MPP, in the unfortunate instance that we lose the elections free and fairly, we will hand power over to whoever wins the elections.
This is positive.
We are not interested in hogging Ghana as our property. We don't believe in that. No. Of course, we are not going to be in power forever. No, but power is transient. This is trite knowledge. We are not going to be in power forever. And we will hand over power to whoever wins free and fairly.
So why didn't Brian say?
But Brian, I've already told you that Brian hasn't said anything contrary to what I'm saying. Brian hasn't said that. I've given you the premise upon which Brian said we are not going to hand over power. He was talking about the fact that we are going to fix the economy, so there wouldn't be a need to hand over power. That's what Brian was talking about.
In case you shredded the economy.
Well, if we shredded the economy, we are going to present the economy to Ghanaians December 7, 2024. And Ghanaians will decide whether we hang on or not. But let me state it here again, that if in the unfortunate instance we lose the election freely and fairly, we'll hand over power. Brian is not saying we won't hand over power. Bawumia is not saying that. Akufo-Addo is not saying that. Now, my senior brother Kpessa Whyte talks about dragging people.
But Brian said it's a power will not be transition.
And even Anado did mention before that he will hand over power to MPP.
No, but that's what Brian said. He said he will hand over power.
I said that.
Or you are trying to qualify what he said.
I'm not trying to qualify. I'm telling you exactly what he said. That we are not going to hand over power on the basis that we will do what Ghanaians want to retain us in power. I've said that. Now, Kpessa Whyte is talking about dragging people into the conversation. You sat here and dragged President Akufo-Addo into the conversation.
Because he said, or die be die.
Yeah, because Mahama said you have revolutionary roots.
We are proud of revolutionary roots.
And he said that you are violent people, so you are proud of that. He said it.
He did not say that. He did not say that.
Should I read it to you?
Quote him well. Time, date, space.
NDC has revolutionary roots, and that when it comes to unleashing violence, nobody can beat us to that. Kpessa Whyte, that is what he said.
He was also saying it against the background of
against
all,
what background?
All
so you know backgrounds.
Because
you know backgrounds.
So
Kpessa Whyte, you know backgrounds.
So you see,
please let me talk. Let me talk.
He said that against the background of the reckless comments that comes from most of your people. Don't forget, one of your potential presidential candidates had once said in this country, if I made a very genocidal comment, asking people to basically run after Aves and guns and basically kill them. Yes.
Okay.
And so if we want to go back into history, we should go as far back as perhaps even into independence and see which particular political tradition is more violent.
Kpessa Whyte, let's go back into history.
All right.
On a morning, let's go back into history, Kpessa Whyte.
Go on with
I'll go back to history.
Go ahead.
On that morning when you went and picked up pregnant women, pregnant judges, and killed them, your party.
Crazy.
You want to go back to history?
Crazy.
We'll go back to history.
Who were dropping bombs on Kwame Nkrumah in
Please,
this
let's
country?
not
can we hold
get
fire?
into this. Let's
Who
not
were
get
dropping
into
bombs
this.
on
Can we
Kwame Nkrumah in this
hold
country?
fire? Can we
Now,
hold fire?
Kpessa, you
were
have
being paid by the CIA
Can we hold fire?
you have a general secretary who has said that you are going to sacrifice lives, and you were new. You people are not ashamed.
He was rallying our party.
Oh, I see.
He was rallying and encouraging our party members to be bold and be emboldened.
I see.
That
I
is what
see.
he
Brian
meant.
was rather rallying our people
But
to go and
Brian's
eat
words
food.
were plain. Brian's words were plain. He would never hand over power. That's what he said.
Please let
Go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Kofi, go ahead.
Anyways, so you there, you were rallying your people.
Choice of words matter.
You were rallying your people. What was Brian doing? Asking us to go and eat fufu.
He was saying you will not hand over power even if you
You
lose.
were rallying. Now, if you say that
Let's make it
there are
submission.
people, your path is not smooth, and you do everything to smoothen your path, including sacrificing lives, what does that mean? Please. Now, before we go to the next topic, he spoke about convoys. And I'm very glad that he spoke about convoys, because we must put that conversation to rest once and for all. Kpessa Whyte knows that when you see a long convoy, it doesn't mean that the principals, the vehicles in the convoy belong to the principal only. I am glad you have said that, because that's the truth, Kpessa Whyte. You see, let me do a quick education. The president or the vice president's convoy is a science. It's a science. There are usually about nine. What?
Bring a champion back to
No.
convoy.
We have a big platform to educate Ghana. I've said what I have to say about Brian Champion. I've said everything that needs to be said.
So what do you want to say about convoy?
I just want to use the opportunity to educate Ghanaians that when it comes to convoys,
No,
that's
it's not a subject of
no.
discussion.
It's not a
You
subject.
raised it and I corrected you.
Please.
So
It's okay.
we can move
It's
on.
okay.
No.
No, so the question I asked was that
Can we educate Ghanaians? Because
creating
these
political
platforms are very
distrust prior
important.
to 2024, and
Yeah.
especially coming from a personality like him, and what that portends for keeping the trust among parties and stakeholders prior to 2024. It's a very succinct question.
Mistrust. I don't see any.
You don't think that Brian Echabmo's comments creates mistrust?
mistrust amongst who? I've asked you that question. I also want you to answer. Mistrust amongst who?
Among the political parties and the stakeholders? You don't think so?
Absolutely not. And I've already proven to you
All right.
what Brian meant. But you see, my brother, we have a big platform. And I was only agreeing with Kpessa Whyte that when we have this opportunity, it's important that we educate Ghanaians on certain issues.
Convoy.
Since he's
No,
not
no.
willing to do convoy, can we go back to
No.
He
I've
wants to
already
do convoy.
said
Can we
what
go
I
back
need
to
to
Brian
say
Echabmo?
So
on
Then
this
you can
issue.
you can move
Oh,
on
you see,
to
if
somebody else to answer the
if
question.
Roland won't allow me, that's fine.
No,
I've already
the convoy
said-
conversation, I don't know.
No, I was only using the opportunity to educate Ghanaians. But
topic for another day.
No convoy, no convoy.
that's
Just
fine.
speak on Brian
That's fine.
Echabmo. And the question
I've already
that
spoken
All
on
right.
Brian Echabmo.
All right.
I've said everything
So-
that I
okay.
need to say
So-
about Brian Echabmo.
So-
I've
so-
said that we have a position that will hand over power if we lose the election in the unfortunate.
You are not defending the indefensible.
There is nothing to be defended. I'm only stating facts.
What he said was fact.
What he said was that I'm stating facts as he stated it.
All right.
That we have an economy to fix. We'll fix the economy. When the time comes, we'll do everything using what we have done to stay in power. That's all.
So
I don't see where the issues are.
the comment from Toto that they will hand over
Don't
power
Toto.
when they
will not
are
correct
defeated in the next elections
Say Toto.
is actually a more positive revision to what Brian Echabmo said.
I'm
I
not
think that is
revising
very,
anything.
I think that is very refreshing.
I'm not revising
and that is very
anything.
welcoming.
I'm stating
Because
exactly.
I did ask him whether he was then now trying to explain
Yeah,
or qualify.
and-
No, I'm not qualifying anything. I'm
No.
only stating the party's
So no-
position
no matter how-
and the government's position.
Mind you, the party did issue a statement where nowhere in that statement was it stated that they will hand over power should they be defeated, which they will be in the next elections. So I'm saying that the statement coming from him now in the studio that they will hand over power when they are defeated is very refreshing, and it's probably a better way to start the conversation.
You think that was what Brian
I don't think that's. I think that's what Brian should have said. I don't think that is what he said because we heard him, and I think that coming now from him is very refreshing. That probably is what should be the party's position going forward. But it's not in my place to determine what their party's position is.
That's my party. I sit here as a government and a party spokesperson. I'm stating the party's
Let me
position.
say that the reason why we should be worried about some of these statements is because we have seen things happen in this country.
Yes, we have.
8 people were killed in the last election. The government in power at the time of the election is the MPP. They are still in power. Not even a single individual in government had publicly apologized or expressed condolences to the families of those individuals who were killed. People were killed during the registration exercise in this country. Registration exercise as a preparation towards the elections. Not even a single condolence was expressed to their families, either by the president, the vice president, or anybody in high places. Government officials, as far as the MPP is concerned, I am building things that have happened in this country that should give us a cause to worry based on the statements he has made. We noticed what happened in Ayawaso, right here in the capital city of Ghana, in a by-election, where even a member of parliament was virtually beaten. Not even the government or anybody from the security services had apologized. So if you actually have precedents of these violent activities from a political party and its high-ranking senior officials stand on a political platform making claims and comments that they will not hand over power, you have a cause to worry. And it breeds mistrust, certainly breeds mistrust, and it heightens the political temperature in a manner that does not augur well for our democracy. I think that if indeed the point Brian Achampon wants to make, as he is suggesting, is to say that the MPP will hand over power should they lose the election, why didn't he just simply say so? Why does he have to say that they will never hand over power today, hand over power tomorrow? First of all, they put the economy in the dustbin. And then after picking some of the pieces from the dustbin, they fly it around us and say, we are now fixing it, so when we fix it, we will win an election on the back of that. Do you know what Ghanaians are going through? What was the price of fuel at the time they took over? What is the price of fuel today? What was the cedi to the dollar ratio, the rates at the time they took over? What is it now? What was the price of yam when they took over? What is it now? A ball of kenke was 50 pesos at the time they took over. Now it's 3 cedis going to 5 cedis. And we sit in the studio here and tell ourselves that we are fixing the economy and that we'll ride on the back of that to win an election. I am simply saying that if the MPP ever thinks that just like they did with Ayawaso and they did in some places in the 2020 election, they will use violence and intimidation to cow Ghanaians into submission or steal the coming election, they should be better prepared because Ghanaians will rise up to defend the Constitution. And the NDC, as the party, as the government in waiting, will not let go of any opportunity to defend the Constitution of Ghana and defend our democracy, no matter what it takes. This is what simply our statement.
Well, we just have 2 minutes to go forward. Mr. Bona, now, should we be having Mr. Brian Achampon come and undertake some level of apology for the statement, then put matters right within the political space and create the right sort of atmosphere?
Not when we have the likes of Kofi defending what is inappropriate conversation. Not when we have the party to which Brian Achampon belongs to come to issue a statement